Hi, this is Damien Marie AtHope, and I am an axiological atheist. And I'm here talking to.
Rachel Dell.
And what kind of atheist are you?
I'm a staunch atheist.
Okay, and could you explain what that is?
Well, basically, what it is I don't. How do I break this down? I'm the kind of atheist that even if there's evidence of a divine figure existing, doesn't mean that I would actually worship it. I don't believe that there's anything that is worthy of my worship, because as the world is and as it was created or came to be, because I believe in science, I obviously don't believe in God, but if there was some certain figure that created all of this, I wouldn't worship it anyway, because I don't feel that it actually is deserving of that kind of worship. Not for this. So that's what I am.
Okay, great. So I also feel the same way as an axiological atheist. It's a value judgment type of atheist, and that means that I also would agree with you. Whether or not a God is real is actually to me almost irrelevant in the fact that how I would treat or behave if there was a God. I would never worship anything. So I can agree with you. And could you were you always a staunch atheist?
No, I've been an atheist now for 5 years, and that happened in quite a tragic and traumatic way. I actually had an accident, and excuse me, I was on my way home from the store, and a lady ran out and literally running in front of my car, and unfortunately, I couldn't stop in time. And you, you know, but during the whole event of the accident, if you know how people talk about time slowing down, during those few seconds whenever she had impact with the car, I realized that I was completely alone. And it wasn't something that I was ready to actually face, because at the time I was I wasn't as believing of a Christian as I had been, but I still believed that there was a God. And it was in the moment that that happened that I felt like if there really was a God, he wouldn't have put me in this situation, because I'm a good person and I would never hurt anybody intentionally. So it changed my worldview, and then I met somebody approximately 5 days later, and he started talking to me, and everything that I was saying to him, ironically, was in Richard Dawkins' books, who he introduced me to. So over the next few months, about the next 3 or 4 months, I went on a journey of searching, and at the end I took that leap and I said there obviously cannot be a God. So it took that kind of traumatic event to really make me look at the world.
Interesting. So you said you're a Christian. Can you tell us your upbringing as a Christian and what kind of Christian? Because I know that there's Catholics, there's different kinds of Protestant Baptists. I mean, evangelical, Pentecostal, whatever. There's. Can you give us a little background about what that was and how devout your childhood was?
Well, you know, I've heard a lot of people talk about you give the church a child till they're about 8 or 10, that they'll have them for life. Luckily for me, my mother didn't introduce me to God until I was about 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old. So that was my introduction to Christianity was rather abrupt, I would put it that way. My mother took us to this film, which was about the Revelations, and they were beheading people, and it was horrible and traumatic, and this was my introduction to God, and after that I thought God was this cruel, evil being, and I refused to let my mother talk about him. But my mother is Protestant, my father is Baptist, so I was raised under their religious thumb either way. And by the time that I was a teenager, I had become a devout Christian. I mean, all of the ridiculousness of the Bible, I followed that. So I was kind of a mix. Like, all of the rules, I believed in chastity. I believed a woman's place. That's how I was raised. So. kind of under the hardcore Christian sects.
Okay, and when you say devout, does that mean that you went to church every Sunday or read the Bible? I mean, what is that? Like for me, my family, we went to church like 2 to 3 times a week.
I have an interesting story. We did start going to a church. The first introduction, and then we followed this church around. This church moved a lot. And it turns out that the preacher was embezzling. And the church...
An honest priest.
Yeah. So we did start attending services often, and you know, as much as my mother decided we should be going. But then at one point, I think I was about 11 or 12, the church split up because the preacher was going to prison for a few years for tax evasion. So, the morals of being religious. And then after that, we really didn't, but my dad was a big one to talk about the Bible, to go over the Bible with us, to do things like that. And my parents were divorced whenever, my mother took us to church. So it was kind of a thing where it wasn't really as much going to church as it was they had the doctrine and they were teaching it to us children.
Okay. And so how much would you say that you believed at that point? I mean, like you said, you thought God was a monster. Was there a point that you stopped feeling that way and just started? I mean, because my point I'm trying to say is that there's a difference between like behavior. Like you can behave. I mean, if I went to a Muslim country, even as an atheist, I may behave as a Muslim because I don't want to freaking die, but that doesn't mean anything about my belief. So I'm saying, you said you behaved as like devoutly, whatever. How did you think inside?
Well, after I got over the initial shock of my introduction, it took me like 2 weeks to stop crying every time my mother would mention God. So after that, it was kind of just like when we went to church, and we did as often, like I said. It's hard to remember all the trips to church. I was very young. But I do know that they were a big part of my mother's life. So I know that they were there and always in the background. What happened was, of course, my parents got us Bibles because no child is complete without their own book of terror. And so I started reading it as a teenager. And as with many Christians, I cherry-picked because there were things that obviously didn't make sense. And I would ask my father about them. And, he would give his explanation for it. So yeah, I was devout as in I was reading the Bible, I was learning to understand what my role was, and my parents were obviously reconfirming with me what I was believing.
Right. So would you say that when you first started realizing and doubting as an atheist, would you say that you wanted to be an atheist, or you felt like it was the only option? Just the reason I'm asking, because when I became an atheist for myself, it wasn't something I chose. I don't know if other people's experience, but for me, I didn't really want to be, but I didn't see any other option. It was just a matter of fact. So I was wondering, for you, how was it?
Mine was, I had already had enough life experience by the time that everything happened, that I had seen how unjust and unfair the world could be. So I was at that point where I still prayed, but I didn't understand a lot of why life is the way it is. And it wasn't, I can honestly tell you that when you believe that God exists, it's like a part of you. And relinquishing that part is very hard. It's I would say identical to mourning a loss, because at first you don't want to believe that nobody's out there, and then you have to go through all of the grieving process. So like I said, it took me months to be able to really come to terms with it, and I'll never forget the day that it happened. I was reading Richard Dawkins' book and seeing his words on those pages echoing my thoughts. was very profound. And I just prayed one last time, and I was like, if you're really real, make me feel something, do something, show me that you exist. And when I got done, I just looked around me and I realized I couldn't do it. I couldn't keep believing that something exists when I knew what had happened, and I knew how my life had changed, and I knew who I was. That I was this very hurt, good person who had just been through something terribly traumatic, and I was alone. And that was the hardest part for me, was realizing that there was nothing else there. It was just me.
Yeah. And how has that impacted your behaviors that you said before you thought about women being a certain way? Did that understanding of you being alone, or that your different position, how did that affect your morality or how you viewed yourself as a woman or anything else?
Well, when I was in high school, I loved science. And the moment that they introduced evolution and Darwin, my parents lost their minds. They were like, no, you're not learning that. I don't even want to hear about it. And so I lived with that for years. When I became an atheist, I realized that all of the things that I had been hiding from, all of the things that I loved, were now accessible to me. So I actually I changed my morality completely. I went to college, so now I'm working on becoming a scientist.
What kind of scientist?
Huh?
What kind of scientist?
Cellular biologist.
Cool.
So, I mean, it's been astounding, the turnaround, because I grew up thinking that I could never be anything more than, just some worker in a factory living life. And my pathway took me so far from that. But becoming an atheist actually removed all barriers to becoming a better person, because when you're religious, you have to live by the rules as dictated by whatever theology you believe. And when I could let those down, and when I could look at people for just the person that they were, instead of having this judgmental moral code, it changed everything about me. And I would say that I am a better person as an atheist than I ever was as a Christian. Because as a Christian, I was mean and rude and judgmental, and I looked down upon other people. And as an atheist, I try to be as big of a humanist as I can and care for other people.
Yeah, I have the same exact story. I was a lot more cold-hearted. I wasn't as much towards rights in general. I didn't really care. Other people's religions, I really care. Someone who was, and also I thought that gays shouldn't have rights. I mean, my whole opinion has totally changed. So I can relate to that. And could you it's like you say humanism. What does that mean to you? Because a lot of people use that word. To me, what humanism is the ability of humans to solve human problems without the need of resorting to religious doctrine or gods. But what does humanism mean to you?
Humanism to me means that, look, we're all just human beings, and we're flawed and so imperfect, and we have to look out for each other. We have to be good to each other. And I shouldn't expect that anybody is ever perfect. And I need to be more forgiving of those, whatever I see as a flaw, and look upon my fellow man as just another, and forgive me, but I look at everything very logically, scientifically, another organism trying to survive and get by, and how can I help them? And my whole coming into activism was about that. It was about trying to help another people, because I understood the transition to atheism is hard. I understood that life is hard. I understood that there's a lot of suffering in this world, and what can I do to ease the suffering of my fellow man? And so humanism to me is just that. What can I do for you? How can I be good to you?
Sorry, it's distracting for me personally. You said your fellow man like 3 times. Do you mean fellow humans, or is it just men, or you mean women also? I'm just asking. This is.
Yeah, I always mean mankind, and I just
But
say
you mean
man.
human. You mean humankind. I'm just saying. For me, it's my own pet peeve. It's just because I'm a feminist. My pet peeve. Every time I hear people say mankind, like as in, somehow women aren't involved in it, or the women have to be under a man. It's just my own thing.
No, I'm very big on being a feminist, and so I would never want to purposely exclude women, because women are just as equal to men in every social aspect. We may not be as strong as men physically, but emotionally and everything else, I think that we're all on the same scale. So yeah.
Well, for me, I don't think anyone has to prove equal to be treated equal. I think, to me, equals a behavior. Like if someone's crippled and they're a man, they're not then less than a woman, because at a point then the woman would be stronger. I'm saying for me, or what if someone is not mental? I mean, I'm kind of somewhat intelligent in some areas, but there's other areas I'm not. I'm not very good at math. So if someone's better at math, are they a better person than me? For me personally, I don't like criterias, to evaluation to be equal. To me, you're equal because you're human. So I'm just saying that so if someone is not as intelligent, what if they have a low IQ? That doesn't make them less of a person for me. So I for my own sense, equal is a behavior that everyone can get because no one has to earn. That's my own.
And I agree with you, but I have been criticized by men for saying that women are equal in every way. And that's one of the things that they go to. Well, men have more upper body strength. Okay, generally they do. But you know what? If I have to nitpick words, fine. I don't choose to. But I've seen a lot of this behavior, especially among atheists, to nitpick and critique every word that you say. So
Yeah.
I've become very conscious of that. And I feel bad, but you know what? I've been in this movement a few years now, and I'm aware of probably you'll get a lot of comments about that. Oh, well, men have this, and men can do this, and they can be firemen, and women have a harder time. Okay, but you know what? Let's see you give birth.
Well, I know what I always say to people when they say a woman can be as good as a man. I always say, yeah, but see, that starts off that a man is the ideal, without a man proving himself. As soon as they tell me that a woman is good as a man, I always go, you're right. A man is as good as a woman. I always turn the statement backwards, because then it's so funny, because then they'll immediately go, what are you trying to say? Women are better? I go, I don't know. Were you trying to say men are better?
It's very hard because our whole society is set up that way. We're taught from infants who rules, and it's always males. And that's like as a woman who is learning science, I can make a comment that's scientifically sound, and I will get attacked by white males far more than a man who is on the same level with me. Men treat that like he made a valid point, but she might not know what she's doing. It's our social structure. We are taught as women that we're supposed to be one way because men are another way, and that's the way it is.
Yeah, to me that's wrong. I think women are equal and they don't have to earn it. So I mean, but I always tell people, if we're really going to evaluate things as far as humanistically, who's does more benefit for society, I would say women do. Because men actually do 95% of all violence, and do 90% of all sexual violence. 50% of dads are the ones that are molesting children. I mean, 80% are family members that are male family members that do molestations. Women only make up 10% of all molestation, sexual abuse, and 5% of them is family and 5% is strangers. But anyway, I'm just saying. But I'm not trying to make a point that women are better. I'm just trying to say, if you're going to start evaluating on worth, it depends on where you're pointing that level to evaluate. We're going to come up with a different answer. If you're talking about strength, that's why, like you were saying about strength. But that's not the only way you evaluate things. I mean, because you could be the strong. So if the strength is the only thing that matters, then Einstein is not valuable. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Stephen Hawking is not valuable because he's not strong. I'm just saying. So to me, I don't go for that whole strong. What is strong? Since when has that been the only measure of worth? but
well, and you look at that too, Damien. One of the craziest things is that for many years women weren't taught math skills at the level of men, and women weren't really taught science, and because we were looked on as being lesser brained. Oh. And even today, look at the attacks on women's rights. Like, we have no sensibility about the choices that we make about our bodies. And, you know, I'm a feminist, and it's hard to wear that label, even with the atheist community, because there is such an anti-feminism movement. And I would agree. I have seen some things in the movement that disturb me, okay? And I'm not going to point at anybody. I'm not going to say any names. I'm going to say this. I think that the world would be a better place if we could just see each other as human beings, period. Okay? And being a feminist is not a bad thing. It doesn't mean I think that men are lesser than women or women are lesser than men. I think that we should all just cope with each other as flawed human beings. And I don't think that equality is too much to ask. Equality in pay, equality in job availability, equality in what I say when I talk to my fellow atheists. And, you know, there has been a lot of drama in our community. But here's the thing. Not everybody feels the same, and I think that just because somebody wears the title feminist doesn't make them anti-men. And I think that perception is bogus, and I think it's driven by men who have been alienated because they think that women want certain things that your average woman doesn't want. You know, we're not asking for special treatment or to run over men or to treat them like lesser beings. We're asking them to see us as their companions, as their partners, as their equals, so that we can all relate to each other, because it's a hard enough world out there. And nothing is ever perfect. But come on, I mean, in the atheist community, I have expectations, and I think that's one of the reasons that I stepped back so far this last year, is because I saw so much argumentativeness that it was taking a toll on me. And in my personal life, I couldn't justify why I want to be an activist for people who are continuously attacking who I am as a person.
Well, I see you as valuable. I'm not attacking you. And I only clarify things just because I like to explain how I see things too. And when you say things, it brings me up. So I'm not trying to be combative with your word use or whatever. I'm just saying that how I see it, because I know a lot of times people use things and you know, they don't understand. I agree with you too. I mean, I'm a feminist, but I'm an anarchist, socialist anarchist. So I come at it from the no gods, no masters, and that definitely includes women. In fact, the first use of that in the feminist movement was feminist anarchists using no gods, no masters back in 1914 or whatever.
You know, the women's movement had some great forward momentum until they're split all of these sects. And I've even seen my fellow atheist women who are very anti-male, who have some stances that are actually shocking to me. And, you know,
could you
like
say
the gentleman on your...
I'm not personally...
I'm sorry?
I said, can you tell me what some of those are? I don't personally know. You said that they have some opinions that are shocking. Can you tell me what some opinions that women have? You don't want to say who did it, but just what opinions about males are shocking to you? Because I don't know.
Well, I actually started this group that was, you know, women around the world, and some of the atheist feminists that came in there were actually more of, hey, let's eradicate men, and I was like, I'm not cool with that, because it's like, you know, they're like, men are all the problems, men are doing this, that, and the other, and I'm like, okay, but women aren't perfect, so I'm not going to take the stand. I don't take really extreme stances except for when it's a horribly harmful doctrine. But I've seen women like that, and actually I've had women turn away from me because I'm not anti-male enough. And that for me was shocking, because I'm like, I'm more of the person where you need to present me some evidence or some reasoning behind what you want me to believe, because if you can't, I'm really going to disregard that. And being anti-male is just not where I'm at. Especially because I want to eventually sleep with them. So.
I mean with the women? Or you meant
I'm sorry.
I misunderstood what you were saying. I thought you said that I think when you said wouldn't sleep with them, I thought you were saying that the women want you to sleep with them, but you were talking about guys. It's probably my own perverted mind.
No, I'm saying that, I can't be anti-male because eventually I'm hoping to sleep with a few of them. So, it's like it's hard to hate men if you want to date them. So.
Although there's some men that hate women and they still seem to be able to date them, so I don't know.
That never turns out good. Never.
I'm not saying it turns out good. It's not probably a consistent or a healthy relationship, but I don't know if it's impossible. I don't promote it. I think women are very highly valuable, so I don't think that way at all. And I would feel that way whether or not I would sleep with them. Although I do like sleeping with women, don't get that wrong, but I'm just saying that that's not why women to me are valuable, and that has nothing to do with it. Their value is not start or stop, but their sexual availability to me. So.
Yeah, and the same with men. I like intelligent men, and I actually I've had this issue within the community too. I specifically like black men more than other men. I've dated the entire rainbow almost. So I have like experience with various, cultures, races, whatever.
Right.
But it was appalling to me, some of the responses I got when I said that I like black men. I literally had one guy, and he was an atheist, and he told me that I should, because my parents are both racist. He told me that I should,
So you said too fast. So your parents are racist, or is it his word? I didn't.
No, my parents are definitely both racist. Oh. Very. Yeah. So this guy came on my wall and was telling me, well, you should regard more what your parents want, and you shouldn't be. Yeah, you should not be. It was kind of akin to, you shouldn't be upsetting your neighbors if you're living in that white neighborhood where, people keep to their own kind of thing. And I was like, are you serious? Because it's 2000 and this was about a year ago, so 2014, and I was like, how is this even coming out of your mouth? But
an atheist said that?
Yes, and I've actually had to block several atheists on Facebook because of racist comments that were made about my dating choices. And that was another hard thing for me. And people don't realize that, when you're in the public eye and you get those kind of criticisms, you are kind of taken aback, and you're like, I can't believe that these people who were smart enough to shed off religion are the same ones who are telling me that you shouldn't be dating black guys. What's the difference between us all? Nothing. Skin tone.
Yeah, you know what I think about you dating black guys? Cool. It's no different than if you said you were gay or you said you dated white guys. Cool. So you know what I hear? I hear a person that values himself enough to take care of their own sexuality and their own needs. Wonderful. Cool. I mean, first off, I'm never going to have sex with you, so what does it even matter?
Well, and I think that was a lot of it, was that some of these guys were actually hoping that, they had a chance with me, but you really have to understand that after you've opened your mouth, you have no chance with me, and I wouldn't care what color you are. If it was a black guy that told me, hey, you shouldn't be dating black guys, you should keep your own, it would still be the same, because I don't see it as relative. Like, I completely support our homosexual community. I completely support all of the communities that we have around us, and I think that everybody should do that. So And you know what, Damien? The worst part is that I'm actually from a Native American father and a German mother.
Yeah.
So I'm mixed. So when people come to me just because I look white and tell me that I should stick with my own race, which one should I stick with again? Because my parents didn't stick. You know what I mean? And even though because there's such a culture in America that's anti-black. And it's a problem.
No. Tell me. I feel like when they go, well, there's proof there's a black president. I go, you know what proof would have been for me as a socialist anarchist? Everyone in the entire cabinet would have been black. That would have proved no racism to me. Well, if you did all that, but you had no problem when it was all white.
Exactly. Well, you know,
he couldn't have done it. You know, if he would have got an entire cabinet with everyone black, they would have fucking shit themselves. But what does it really matter? If it doesn't matter, if there's no racism, then he should have been able to pick all blacks.
Here's the problem. The problem is that it's sort of like saying, because I've had some sugar today, I'm not diabetic.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had a little bit of sugar and you didn't die from it, but look at what has happened in the last few years.
Oh, yeah.
We hear all of these people out there ranting. Fox News is the worst of it. Out there ranting openly to their base about how this president has done this, that, and the other that's disgraceful. But not only that, you see these riots over a black man being killed, horribly gunned down in the street because the cop feared for his life. And then you see riots because justice wasn't served. And then you see white people who have a pumpkin festival and they riot and they destroy property. Which one of those gets called thugs? Only the black people. But it's okay for college kids that are white to get out of control and do things, and they're just young, they're just, getting out their energy. But you see black people do it about something serious, like numerous black deaths within the same community in the same way, and a police force that obviously doesn't represent them, and they're thugs. We have a really bad problem in this country with race issues, and I think that having lived with a black boyfriend, I can see that there is a lot of hardship for black people in this country, and people really don't realize that the way that black people are looked down upon, no matter what they do or how good they do it, is a problem. When you have a black boyfriend and he's going to the store, it's tragic that you have to wonder, if he gets stopped by the police tonight, will he make it home? What happens if the wrong cop decides that, okay, because he's driving my car, he doesn't belong in that car? You shouldn't have to live with that fear. But I've actually had that. Like, my boyfriend called me one night. He actually, I should say, he messaged me, and he's like, these cops are ridiculous. He had gotten pulled over because he was a black man in an area where he wasn't normally seen. That's an issue.
I totally agree. I mean, I grew up in Irvine, California, which is a relatively semi-white area. Now it's a white Asian, but I had a friend that my car that was black and one that was Hispanic. We were driving and the cop pulled us over. And then he goes, "You know why I pulled you over?" I go, "I don't know, because I have a black friend and a Mexican friend in the car." He's like, "That's not the reason." Okay, tell me what's the reason. Well, your car's too loud. I was like, that is the bullshit. Because he goes, "Let me see your driver's license and all this stuff, and let me see the licenses of the people in the car." And I go, "Why do they need to give you the license? We haven't done nothing. They shouldn't have to prove anything. They've done nothing wrong. We were just driving." And he's like, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I've experienced it. It's like, and if I was just white, I wouldn't even understand. But I have experienced being with other people, and I've dated all kinds of races because I have this preference. It's called female. So you have a black preference. I don't have a preference. I've dated Mexican, black, Asian. I have female preference. So, but it always amazed me that to me, I've had someone for speaking of the dating thing, I reminds me, I had a job I was working, and he told me, I thought it was the greatest job, paying all this money, and he told me we really needed an employee. I said, I have the perfect friend. This guy's an awesome employee. So he hired the guy, right? Talked to him on the phone, hired the guy, shows up, and he tells me, why did you tell me he was black? And I go, what the fuck does that have to do with it? And he goes, but you never even told me. I go, why is that even relevant? I didn't tell you because he's an awesome worker. I didn't know I needed to inform you his ethnic background. And he wouldn't hire him. And then
Wow.
and that really, for me, it was like completely dumbfounding. This is probably like about 10 years ago. So it's not super recent, but I mean, it's not, and this is in California. So it dumbfounded me, and my friend told me, why did you even put me in that thing? Didn't you look around? Everyone that works there is white. And I go, I didn't think about it, because I don't see the world like through race glasses or whatever. I don't. For me personally, I don't think that way. So I go, yeah, I guess now that you mention it, you're right. But so I think the problem is, on the other hand, I think other people have kind of like me where they don't realize it. So even though I'm not racist, I don't realize it. I think some of them could be or not racist and just not realize it. It's not happening to them. I mean, like you said about women, I'm a white guy. I'm a pretty big white guy. I'm like 6 foot, you know, I weigh like 400 pounds. Almost everywhere I go, I pretty much do whatever I want. People just kind of move out of the way. So I don't experience what it's like to be small, to be female, to be another race, because I've got this bag of unearned assets by being big and white and tough. And so I experienced this distinctly. My wife was sitting in the car. She brought me to the ATM. I wasn't paying attention. I walked to the front of the ATM, and I started doing the ATM, right? I got my money. I turned around. There's like 6 people. They're all looking at me. And I come back to the car, and wow, that was fast. And so many people came up, you know, behind me. And my wife goes, they were not behind you. They were waiting for the ATM, and you fucking cut in front of 6 people. And no one said shit.
Well, yeah.
So I live in a world where I don't realize what it's like to not be fucking like me, because I know sometimes, so I know I do, like you said about being understanding, I do have some understanding for people that don't understand that women have issues that need to be taken care of. So I do understand that they don't understand black issues, or if they're able-bodied, they don't understand what it's like to be disabled. I do understand that if you're straight, you don't understand why it's important to care about gay issues. But using critical thinking, you know, and then seeing these events in my life, I can look and say, man, if I wouldn't have been that, I would have been hell. Imagine if I cut in front of people and I've been black. They probably would have called the police, or what, you know, or you know, I don't know exactly, but I'm just saying that, you know, the chances, or if I was a female, do you think they would have let me cut in front of 6 people? I doubt it. You know, so I operate in a world that's, you know, not exactly. So I do see there's a real difference. And so I try to be empathetic, like you said, humanist, and go, I need to care about your rights, not because it affects me, but because I realize it affects you.
That's very true. And, you know, I have dealt with a lot in the atheist community. I've had a lot of wonderful experiences. There are some absolutely amazing people in this community. And then there are some people that I just shake my head and say, being a public figure and being on the front is very daunting. Like, you have to take, and especially as a woman in this movement, you have to take a lot of personal attacks, and I think more than the men, because this used to be a white male movement because white males were educated, and who's going to become an atheist faster? Well, somebody who's been exposed to the world and education. And now we have women and we have minorities, and I feel like the men feel like they're being cast aside, and that's nobody's intent. The intent is actually inclusion instead of exclusion. And I think that there are people who don't get that, and maybe they've had a hard time in life, or, you know, things haven't gone the way that they expected them to, but taking that out on those of us who are still trying to represent you, you know, is even worse. And I'm a very staunch, pro-choice feminist atheist, and I believe in women's rights, and I've been very stringent in my stance on that, and I will never change that, no matter what a guy says to me, because I am a firm believer that whatever choice a woman makes about her body is her choice, and I don't believe in giving a man permission to make any of those choices for me or for other women, for that case. And I've come up against a lot of, like, and I was shocked that this was even a thing, libertarian atheists. I was like, how is this even a thing? This is like voting against the worst, your own interest in the worst way. And it is hard. It is very hard to be out there, because there's a lot of ridicule, and you have to have a tough skin.
Not to get personal, but can you tell us some of those experiences that you've had? Is there certain things that people said? Like, have you ever watched Dawkins when he reads, dumb fuck, or what I'm saying? I didn't say to say those exact things, but I mean, could you give us some examples of what maybe someone said? I mean, if you feel it's too offensive, you don't have to, but.
Oh, well, like any good atheist, I've had my death threats by Muslims. I'll come find you, kill you, blah blah blah, whatever. I
never have.
Never?
No.
Oh,
Well,
I have.
I make
I haven't ever had a rape threat, and I'm lucky for that in a way, because honestly, I wouldn't take it serious unless they typed in my home address behind it, because then I would just be on the phone with the FBI. But a lot of women I know have. I've just had the general constant criticisms. I've had people that I had to block because they continually trolled my wall and tried to make me look like the most hysterical, stupid, outlandish woman that I could be, because they were libertarian and they didn't agree. I'm also a socialist, and so they didn't agree with my views, so they wanted to make me look as bad as they could.
Okay, sorry. Real quick, can you explain what that means? Because I'm an anarchist socialist, so I mean, I understand what socialism is. But a lot of people, when they hear that, they think it means communism. See, I'm against communism. But can you explain what socialism is, that word, for you, so that people understand?
Sure, because I know that socialism can come under many umbrellas. So socialism for me is universal healthcare, universal welfare, making sure that there's no one out there that's starving, taking care of our communities, making sure that it's sort of like what Germany has. I'm trying to think, Denmark, Sweden, all of the more rich countries, where you can have your own personal wealth, but you pay a high percentage of taxes so that everybody, no matter their stance, doesn't have to suffer. I'm a firm believer that there's no child in America that should have to go to bed starving, or no elderly person that should be without care. I'm that kind of a socialist.
Yeah, well, so am I. Only thing only thing different, I think, is that there shouldn't be any president, there shouldn't be any mayor, there shouldn't be one person. That's only my own thing. Is that I don't believe in hierarchy. So I want government without hierarchy. So, but.
I've done the mental logistics of that, and I've come to the conclusion, and especially having been in the public eye, that people are not very good at self-regulation. And this is why I'm against libertarianism. People take advantage of each other a lot, and I think that we need I don't know that we need a president, but I know that we need a governmental body, because people will unfairly deal with each other if given the opportunity.
Like I said, I didn't say I don't believe in government. I said I do not believe in hierarchical government. I'm opposed to hierarchical government. I think that, like, say right now we have 300 representatives. I think there should be 3,000, or there should be 30,000. I'm for real direct democracy. I'm opposed to hierarchical government, because I feel that it does not represent the people. And I'm also opposed to any asking for rights. Rights are not gifts to government. Rights are our rights. Government should protect. I'm totally with you. I believe every child, every old person should be taken care of. I'm for universal health care. Everything else pretty much you said. I just don't want presidents. I don't want any small body of elites. I'm completely opposed to. But that's Yeah, that's just my thing. So that's my socialism is a little bit different, but I mean, pretty much what you said, I agree with. So, and I agree that we should, like mutualism. The guy that invented it said, that Pierre, that he believed up to 50% tax on rich. So I really to taxing rich people doesn't bother me. Hey, if you're not using that money to survive, like the guy for makes $1 billion every year or something, or $1 million a year, and someone else is making 14,000. I'm sorry, I don't have any sympathy for you.
Because what can you? I mean, yeah, you can fly around on your jet planes. You can go to your holidays whenever you want. You can do whatever you want. However, you know what? Nobody needs that kind of money in this lifetime. But you know what we do need? We need to make sure that the people who are going without a meal tonight have a meal. So I'm with you completely. I love the German system where it's up to 40% tax of your income.
Yes.
It's sensible.
And I think there should be free banks. That's a mutualism idea too. No interest banks for poor people, so that they have only interest is the limit that it takes to pay for the employees to run the bank. That's it. No non-profit banks, because to me money should be not hierarchical. It should not be used to give by the rich against the poor, and that's what it is to me now. Now we have 32% credit cards. No rich person pays 32% for their money. Shit. What does a bank pay? Like an 1/8 of percent or something, a 1/2%. I mean, 1%. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's money is used as a tool against people. So that's why also I'm sure you don't have that far from that opinion, because otherwise you'd be capitalist.
Yeah, I can't do capitalism because it is basically a rich parasite feeding off of the poor. That's how I see it. All you do is monopolize. And anybody who's ever played Monopoly and played it well, and I was very good as a kid, I was like, wait a second, I have accumulated all of this. These people have to pay even to step on my property. It's so totally intrinsically unfair, because at some point you are literally bankrupting people. And you know what? If we really look at capitalism the way that Monopoly is played, if you're so poor that you can't pay, you go to jail. Yeah. That really says a lot about our society.
Oh, they want to bring that back. That was outlawed. They want to bring it back. Well, of course they do. But of course, what's so funny is this is the problem I have, especially with America, is they want to socialize losses, but capitalize income. So that everything, in other words, I'm saying, like when the crash happened, they wanted America to bail them out, but they don't want to pay us back, so they want to socialize the loss. So all the risk gets socialized. Everyone pays for everything, but then all the profits, all theirs. They don't share it, like you said about tax. They don't give it back. So but anyways, funny. It reminds me. Penn Jillette said that if he had to choose between socialism and atheism, he would no longer be an atheist.
Oh wow.
But I would say the exact opposite. If I had to choose about not caring about people anymore and losing my atheism, I would care, because care is more important to me than my belief system.
I think I would have to agree with him, because my caring about humanity, and if I could make this world socialist by my having to believe in some crappy god, fine, I'll do what I got to do as long as people are getting taken care of.
Well, no, I'm saying his opinion was opposite. He hates socialism. He says it's what corrupted atheism. That's what I was saying. Is no, I don't agree with him. I think he's a great guy. He says a lot of good things. That right there, I was like, whoa, dude, we're way off. Politically, we don't touch the same ground, because I would rather do that than care about my beliefs. I mean, I would say I care about my beliefs, but as someone asked me before, like I've volunteered before at a Christian youth thing for kids in the inner city, and I got a lot out of it. I didn't like the fact that it was Christian, but I got a lot out of it because I really care about caring people. Just like, I mean, I wish there was ones that were atheists. I would like that better. Oh. But I have to live in the real world that there isn't. So I want to help kids. I want to help people in general. And so I like volunteering if I can, helping homeless, helping, it's just it's not something I do like trying to get anything out of it. I really care. I really see differently, like you said about being humanist. To me, being socialist is just an extension of my humanism. I care about humans. I don't think money should be used against people, so it should be used for people, And so, for me personally, I agree with you. I get to socialism part for me is simply just being humanist. I care, and thus caring equals that I want people to eat. I want most, It's just bizarre to me because I think if there was a natural disaster, right, and like Katrina, you don't go there and then start charging for water.
That's true.
Supply and demand. I mean, you don't go. I mean, anyone who did that, you would see them as immoral. No one would go, wow, that was a good American, selling water to the freaking people that are, So but I see that the problem is that I don't limit that with a rest of life. I see all of life like that. All of life is everyone's dying. It's a natural catastrophe. It's called life. Everyone's running towards death. So to not feed children for free is no different than not giving the person at a natural disaster a free bottle of water.
Exactly. And it's ironic that you said that everybody's going towards death. My entering the movement actually happened on the cusp of the death of Hitchens. I went to the Reason Rally. And
that's awesome. How was that?
The Reason Rally was amazing. It was my first interaction with fellow atheists. And it was so cute because, it was raining and it was cold and there's all these atheists and everybody just huddled together, and this lady shared her umbrella with me, and it was the first time that I got introduced to like all of these people that were up there. It was astounding, and with the death of Hitchens, I really knew that there was this gap in the atheist community that needed to be filled, and I'll never even walk in a tenth of his shoes, but I was like, I'm a voice, and people seemed to like what I was doing, so I started becoming more active, and this year is actually going to be my return to activism. So cool. Yeah, I wrote an article today, and I'm going to continue moving forward, and I've done Recovering from Religion, their groups, and I had the Pink Atheist podcast, and I have my blog still, and yeah.
What's your blog?
I have two of them, which I want to get one set up so that I actually can just have everything concentrated in one area. But okay. I have one on WordPress, and I have one on Google Blogger, and both of those are Godless Rachel. So, people can find me on Twitter as well, or on Facebook. I have a Godless Rachel page. So, but I miss activism. I miss my community. And as much as they can be pains in the asses for some of the things they think and believe, I love my community. And I love being around atheists. And I've had some of my greatest times around atheists and seeing just how caring and compassionate they are. So that's the reason I keep getting sucked back in, that in people who tell me, hey, you've done something for my life, you've changed something, and that inspires me to keep being a good person, because I do want to leave this world a better place than I came into it. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm happy to hear it. I do think you do good. And I think that we do need, and this is like people say sometimes, well, I can't make a difference. I don't know. It's a movement. Who the hell was asking you to do everything anyways? I mean, it's like, and the other thing that always is funny to me, I'm pretty activist. I mean, I go out in the streets, when I'm not disabled, because I'm actually, sometimes I can't walk. But when I can't, I was injured in a truck accident, so I know you don't know. Oh. Some people know, but some people don't. I was 22% disabled, and it's nerve damage. So sometimes I'm fine, and then sometimes I cannot walk. It goes anywhere from a week I can't walk to up to one time a year. I had to quit work. I actually don't work anymore because I physically can't, because I can't rely on if I'm going to be able to work. Like this recently, I just stopped from a whole month. I couldn't walk. I'm able to walk in. I haven't gone back to meetups and stuff, out and doing activism because I can't. But it is getting better. But I don't know. It could be 2 weeks and then I can't walk in. I have no idea. It could be another year. I have no idea. It's this nerve damage. But I don't let that stop me. Like I said, and people go, oh, you do a lot. I do a lot because I do as much as possible. My mentality is this. I try to be available. That's it. It's not that I try to do something. I just try to be available. When I'm there, when I could do it, I try to do it. I try when I'm talking to someone, I try to be real and be available to them. I want to make a difference at all moments, not just wait for some special. Like some people, like to me, I think wait for like if eventually the right thing all comes in, then I'll do something good. My feeling is there was like 10,000 times you could have done something good all the time. Sometimes, it's amazing to me if you just tell someone they matter. That's it. Or you like them. Or that you just even send a smiley. Sometimes just even liking someone's page or something. It's amazing how much we can actually do to inspire people or to make them feel good. I mean, there's so much, like you said, that goes against it. I once in a while have people that say bad things. I usually just block them. I don't really, get into this stuff because I'm a mild sociopath. I've had to learn empathy, like another language, like a foreign language. I have learned it now, but what's left of that, problem that I have is I'm prone towards extreme violence and anger. So it's not good for me to get like mad. Not that I'll do anything, but like if someone keeps provoking me, I have to really step back and calm down because it's in me to get really angry. So that's like online. A lot of times I won't argue with people. That's like some guy recently, just today, he said I'm a fat lump of shit or something like that. Some military guy. I didn't even argue. I just blocked him. Didn't even whatever. It's not. I just blocked him. So that's what I'm saying is I have to learn. So I don't let that get to me. But I do like. I'm not saying that I don't like people saying nice things. Some people come and tell me that I do a good job. And so I am out in like you, also being out in the public eye. I think that when we're out in the public eye, we do need the other people that do matter because they support us to be in the public eye.
Yes.
So I think that they matter too.
Well, another reason that I had stepped back from activism was dealing with my own personal issues. I went to college and I was doing fine, and then my parents, became more prevalent in my life. And if you've had any interaction with me, you know that my life growing up was very tough. And I'm actually the opposite. It's very easy to hurt my feelings because, I grew up with constant criticisms. My mother was actually, and she's not diagnosed, so I can't say there's been an actual diagnosis, but I've been in counseling for approximately 2 years now, and my counselor just came to me at one of the last few sessions that I have with her, and she said, I think your mother is a narcissist. And she's like, I was doing some research, and here's what I found, and she said, this sounds like your mother. And for me, that was very devastating because nobody wants to see their family as that sick family. And so I had time off as well to deal with that because I couldn't deal with all the punches that I was taking online, the metaphorical ones, when I'm, going through this emotional crisis where I feel like everything that I'm doing doesn't matter. So, I've had to move to where I am now, which I'm just getting to the place where I'm completely happy with being me. And it's coming along slowly. There are still some things that I'm working on, but, it's hard to take criticisms from people when you're constantly criticizing yourself. So.
Well, I mean, you haven't done a lot for me personally, but I still have been benefited seeing you talk, seeing you do stuff, seeing you interact with other people. I still find you to be very valuable. I think that you do a lot, and I know you're very needed, in our community. So I really appreciate you getting back in the community. So I mean, I think and I think that also to me, I really like real. I fucking love real. There's too much fake in the world. And I think sometimes that we have this opinion, not saying that you but that we have to be perfect or we can't be in public. I disagree. I mean, I don't ever tell people I'm perfect. I strive to be the best I can, but I'm not perfect. Like I said, and like you said, you know, your mom's sick. Well, then I'm sick. I mean, I have, you know, I was, you know, abused severely. I was neglected. I was starved. I was my tailbone broken by hit by a 2x4. I mean, but the point is that even in that, I can be better. So to me, it's actually could be a message of hope. I'm from a person who basically shouldn't have empathy, shouldn't have care, and yet I seem to be able to have learned it. But then I do think that most kids don't come with an understanding of math. I mean, some kids are better at it, but I mean, you can take them in school and you can teach them math. So I really think that we can teach people to be better. I'm really inspired by the ability to improve us. And if you think about it in general, what a lot of times adaptations in evolution were to improve and make us better. Not everything, but I mean in general, for our survival and well-being, adaptation is really part of who we are. And most of the things was advantageous of it being, you know, beneficial, or we died off. Most things that were too destructive. Not that it's not like nature. I always laugh when people. It's not like nature chooses for us to be wonderful. It's just if you weren't wonderful, you probably fucking died. So your gene lineage probably didn't continue because it just wasn't there. So it's funny though, because I think that we forget that we have this attitude that it has to be perfect, and we all look out at somebody, but everyone's looking back at us thinking the exact same thing. They wish they were as perfect as us. I have people tell me all the time, I wish I was as good as you, Damien. I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of you I wish I was as good as. What are you talking about? I mean, sometimes I don't feel, I wish I could be more understanding and more caring and more compassionate. I see some people, not that I don't think I do a good job, but it's funny when I have people say it to me, because I'm like, I'm trying to be better just like you. It's not, you know, sometimes I do things, but I really am trying. And I think that we don't have to be perfect. Sometimes showing people that you're struggling too is very inspirational. If it wasn't, then group therapy would be no good. You have all these people with all these equal problems, and yet somehow when they talk about their problems, they inspire each other to feel better, to not be alone. So sometimes I think that we want to wait till I'm okay, then I'll talk to people, then I can help them. What are you talking about? You can help them when you're weak, because they're like, wow, I thought I was the only one. I was the only one that was hurting. I thought I was the only one that was alone. I thought I was the only one that was struggling. I mean, you know, the only female that's getting death threats from guys or whatever, you know, or the only one that doesn't feel like you're a part of the atheist community or whatever. Sometimes we need to remember that our entire story matters, not just, you know, the cliff notes.
This is true, and I agree with you. I just think that, you know, there are moments in your life where you're weaker than others, and going through therapy has been dredging up every painful aspect of what's really been bugging me. So in order to cope with that, it's sort of like I'm already picking open old wounds, and I don't need anybody else pointing fingers and picking them open. Like, I mean, there was times for me that I was literally emotionally overwhelmed, and I just wanted to lay in bed all day. And it literally hurt like somebody had ripped my chest open and tore my heart out. So, you know, I wanted to be strong for my community, but there's also those points where I know that I'm not strong enough to do all of this good stuff for everybody else and focus on what really needs to go on in me. And
I wasn't saying you had to be strong. I was saying that your weakness is a benefit too. That's all I want to remind you, is that it's just personally, I'm just saying that when I hear you talk about your story and your struggle, it makes me feel for you that you went there. No one should have to feel like that, and no one should have to feel like that, like they're alone. I think our community should actually do both things. Not only should it require us to be built up because of you, but that we should be there when you are feeling weak. Just like I feel like people should be there for me when I'm feeling bad. I mean, I'm pretty optimistic, but there's once in a while that I'm not okay, and I've had someone online, you know, be there for me, and Actually, if it wasn't for my friend Chastity online talking to me, I'd probably be not even on Facebook because I got so angry at people and stuff. But yeah, I realize, that it does matter. People. So I'm just reminding you that even your weak stories, they matter. And I do agree. I'm not saying don't put yourself in a position without safe people. That's why, to me, when usually people aren't safe, I just block them. I don't allow them to be. I think really, I wish, what really a safe life would be? We have blocking in life. That we could just go, oh, excuse me, and just,
Life puts a big black patch over them so we can't see them when they go by. That would be wonderful. Now, I have learned that, and I've also, in the last year, learned how to, if somebody comes and they're just spewing some venom, I'm just like, I sit there and I look at it and I'm like, okay, you just did that. I'm going to keep going this way. And I've learned it's come over time. I've learned more patience for people, and that's why I feel like I'm getting to that place where I can start doing things. And I don't mind being weak, because everybody has their weaknesses, and I have mine. What I mind is that people, have you ever had this, Damien, where people find out about your weakness and they try to turn that in on you? And
yes.
And there are moments in your life when it's crucial that those people don't attack that, because, like I said, there has been a couple, like when my therapist walked in the room and, we sat down, and somebody online had actually suggested before her that my mother was a narcissist, and they gave me this video link. And then when she sat down and did that, I told her, I said it was like somebody just cut me open and all the poison ran out. Because it was like a moment where I could say that somebody believed me, what I had been through. And that's the kind of thing that I didn't want to be picked on about. Because it's sort of like being bullied on the playground. You're that little kid with the braces or the legs that aren't perfect, and somebody comes over and shoves you down or something. That's what I couldn't deal with at the time. But now that I'm feeling stronger, now that I'm coming to the point where I'm like, okay, I know what I'm dealing with. I know that I'm stronger. I'm like, okay, bring it. I don't have a perfect past. I've made my mistakes, but I'm willing to own up to those. And unlike a Christian, I'm willing to be a better person every day of my life. And if that's good enough, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you doing stuff. And I also think that, like I said, I really wish that our movement would also be inspired. I talk about it a lot. I'm for a non-aggression. I'm for non-violence. I mean, and I hate bullying. I don't think that we should be bullying people in our community. And I really wish that we wouldn't allow it, even for things we disagree. We shouldn't allow. I mean, I say all the time, because if people I hear them say, well, Christians should die or something. I don't think that.
No.
Like I'm not against people that have a belief that vaccines are wrong. I think vaccines are right, but I heard one person today say, I hope they all die. I don't think that. I have to say, and I wrote, I don't think that. He said he doesn't care if the kids of the anti-vaxxers die. I do.
That's
cool. Kids die. What the fuck? But I'm just saying, so I think it's pretty sad that we need to, I think, defend the position in our own community that it's not critical thinking to say that people should die because they have different beliefs. I mean, it was so weird to me is we'll say that Muslims shouldn't kill people, in other foreign countries because of their beliefs, but then we say that people should die because, I mean, it doesn't. I don't feel it's coherent.
No, and you know what? I will call an anti-vaxxer an idiot in a heartbeat. I will tell you you are a freaking moron, but I will not wish death on you, because I have said it before and I'll say it again. Death is not a punishment, it's a release, okay? We know what we believe. There's no other side to go to. So what happens? Nothing. You're wishing upon them that they just lose their one opportunity at life.
Yeah.
That's a cruel, insidious thing to do. Because we're lucky enough to be here, we should all enjoy it as much as we can and be good to each other. And whatever happened to the days where agree to disagree? Whatever happened open to that. We don't see eye to eye. I have an issue with anti-vaxxers because they're literally causing other people to die. Okay, so that's a major issue, but I don't wish death on any of them. None of them.
Yeah. Well, I don't really care if the adults choose to do it or not. I really care about the kids. That's what he was saying, that the kids die. I mean, to me, it's offensive as all hell. To me, say kids should die. I mean, or even if you say religious kids should die. No one should die. I mean, I don't agree with that at all. But the other thing I want to do is you were saying that you wanted to get back into the activism in doing your blog. What is it? Some of your goals that you'd like to see, like. What do you see like the needs to change in the atheist movement, or what do you think you could do to help motivate some change? Or
well, I think that we're moving forward nicely. I love the idea of secular TV. I love the idea of secular broadcasts, of radio, live streaming. I love all of that. I think that we need to be more political. I think that we do need to, and especially the men's rights movement really infuriates me. So I think that feminism needs to come around to being the sensible force to move things forward. I definitely support gay and equal rights. I'm just one of those people who, for some reason that I really don't even completely understand, people listen to me. So as long as that's the ticket, I'm just here, and my motivation is, hey, let's be rational thinkers. Let's use science. Let's use our brains to move everything forward. So I don't have like one specific agenda. Okay. I have the agenda that let's just keep going forward. Let's be the rational thinkers. Let's motivate change in our society through helping each other. Okay. And that's the whole thing.
And so you said you don't know why people listen to you. Could you? But then I don't want you to talk about that. What I want you to say is, give me 3 reasons why they should.
Okay, 3 reasons why they should.
Why should they listen?
I am educated. I do study science, and so I know a lot of scientific data. I read so profusely. And the 3rd reason is because I know for a fact that I'm a very strong woman. I have come through many, many fires, and I'm still standing. So at the end of the day, if you want somebody strong to speak for you, I know that I'm that person. So
if you could talk to yourself when you were a believer, before you doubted, what would you say to her? What would you say?
I think her and I would have gotten the worst cat fight of ever.
Because my point is that no one knows you better than you, so you know what you have need. Could you have reasoned with yourself, or do you just think that it's impossible?
I was so staunchly Christian that I think that even if I could get a time machine, go back in time, look her in the face at 18 and say, listen to me. You know, everything in your world is going to change eventually, and here's what you should do. I think that I would have been stubborn enough and ignorant enough that I would have said, I'm going to do it my way. So I don't think that I could have gotten past me to listen to me currently. I've just been that kind of person all along.
Well, let's just say hypothetical that you have a good ability. You were somewhat, what little crack of open. What would you say? What do you think is the most profound thing that would change someone from believer to atheist, or for you personally?
I would say to them, and I would have said to myself, really look at it. Look at the world from the perspective of not just your community or your town or your family, but look at it and look how many millions of people are out there suffering. And do you believe that justice is done by any divine figure for all of these people that are starving, that are beaten, that are raped, that are abused? Do you believe that somebody is being just to them, and that you can simply dismiss all of this hardship in the name of some deity that doesn't seem to care if it's out there for anything that it created? Because we all suffer and we all die, and nothing in life is fair.
Cool. So what do you think that the atheist movement is going to do in the future? Do you think there's any future changes? I mean, like you said, that I think currently definitely LGBT marriage rights, and do you think that there's something in the future? Like the reason I'm asking is because I see like at least up here that I moved to Washington, there's a lot of people that seem to be accommodationist or almost like religious atheists. Because I think that some of them have the opinion. I don't agree at all. I'm anti-religious as hell. But I'm just saying that some of them think that atheism is going to realize or come to the conclusion that it can't change religion, and then just try to work with it to make it more, I guess, non-harmful. I'm sorry. I'm not saying you have to think that. I'm just saying, do you think that there is going to be a change in atheism? Because I know, like, there was a new atheism, like you said, Dawkins, impressed you. So that's new atheism, which I don't really consider myself part of, but new atheism. And then do you think that, is there going to be another thing? Like, is there going to be a secularism atheism or something, or secular humanism? Or I was wondering if you have any idea of that.
I think that the world is changing, and so is our access to knowledge and each other, and it's becoming more of a global community instead of a hometown community. So I think that over time, because we're now exposed to all those big bad Chinese atheists, and we're exposed to all those other cultures, and I think atheism is going to light the way to the future, and I'm being very serious in that, because religion has been the source of many murders and deaths and wars and problems, and I think that once America, I see America right now as in the throes of religious craziness, and I think that the backside of this is something that they really don't want to face, that the next generation coming up is even more secular, and I think that the rational thinking is going to win the day. Because ultimately we have to take care of this planet, we have to live in this universe, we have to find a way for humans to survive, and there will be that critical time. And I think that if we go the religious pathway, extinction for humans is secured. But if we take and become more secular, more atheist, leave the gods aside, I think we can build our way into the future. So I think that atheism should try to influence the future of politics, because that's where it's at. We cannot continue these generations of crazy, religious, dogmatic politicians, making legislation for all of us. This is not good for America or the world.
Right. So you're saying that basically it's going to become more secularism, sort of, I'm guessing.
I think it is. I think that America will eventually go the way of Europe, where religion is a thing that you do, but you shouldn't brag about it, and you shouldn't be, trying to put it in politics. I think that religion is going to take a back shelf to reality.
Well, I hope it does.
Me too.
I don't know. People seem to like fantasy a lot, so I don't know. I can agree with some people that I don't know how hopeful I'm for that, but I do think that more people are going to be atheists. So I definitely agree, and I do agree that I think that the internet and everything they can't stop it. I mean, like you said, look at you're not in Seattle right now, and then I post these videos and they go to India and they go to Poland and whatever. So yeah, I think that the globalism is going to be being the downfall of religion.
Yes, it
is being the access to knowledge is more than any time in history.
This is true.
So I definitely agree that's got to be, and that's why I think it's important though also for people like you, to make sure that you do put out blog, and people like me doing stuff, and everyone. I want to inspire everybody, to get out there and say stuff, because the more that we do that and tell the truth and tell the information, and like in other words, just because there's an internet doesn't mean it's going to be able to have information that people can access that is beneficial. So I think it is important to make sure that we do have things that people can go to and get good information, or get atheist views, and get, because I think that we shouldn't be relying on just a few, people.
No. It's too much for a few people, honestly. There are so many of us, and there's so much diversity among us. We do need people from all over, from every ideology, like just coming in and letting the world know, hey, whoever you are, wherever you are, if I'm the person for you, great. If not, hey, I probably know somebody who would suit you better. We don't have to be enemies in this movement. I think we should all get along. And I'm more than willing that if I'm not your person, that's fine. Okay, but find somebody who you do agree with. And I'm not going to sit there and bash my fellow atheists and activists, because you know what? I know what they go through and the part of their life that they're putting on the line to be out there, and I completely respect that. And I respect my fellow activists, because those are great people trying to do great things for people who unfortunately can't always have a voice. So.
Yeah, I agree. So is there any questions or things you want to address, any questions you want to ask me, or any statements you want to make about anything?
No, I do have to get going soon, but I just want to say that this is a great community, and I hear a lot of people criticizing one person or another, but you know, find your niche, find what you love, do that, pursue it. I'm a big believer in dreams and them coming true, and you know, I wish everybody out there happiness and nothing but, and it's so tragic to see what people go through, but just remember that, you know, all the things that you have survived, I have survived, people can make it through, and I think this is the time right now, right where we are, to start making a difference in our future, because the next generation is coming up, and they need people to light the way. And, you know, I think we should just be their hope and their inspiration for a new day.
I really appreciate what you said, and I really thank you for your time, Rachel.
Thank you, Damien, for having me, and you take care, and I will see you on Facebook, and love to chat with you, and I'm sorry to hear about your injury, and I hope all goes well. So
hopefully one day science will fix it. Go science!
Absolutely.
Or transhumanism. Hey, I may have to get a super bionic foot, you know, whatever. Go science.
Exactly.
It won't do shit, so.
Yeah.
All right. It's been great talking to you.
Great talking to you too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.